Well, let's turn the advisory now and a bit to tackle Australia's housing supply crisis. The Albanese government has pledged to build 100,000 new homes for first home buyers. So what impact will this have on supply and also prices? Well, Kitty Parker joining us from Kitty and Miles. Kitty, welcome back. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you as well.
Of course, we know the election result now, so we can focus on Labor's policies. But when you, I guess, consider the assistance for first home buyers, plus the fact that rates are likely to cut further, that is going to put upward pressure on prices, is it not? Making affordability even more of a problem.
I actually think you're correct there. And I think this is something that the Labor government hasn't really factored into their housing policies. Whilst it's all well and good to incentivise first homeowners to get into the market with additional deposit assistance, we're not really tackling the crunch of housing affordability or lack of.
All right, it does come back to that main issue of supply and demand, doesn't it? There's simply
Correct.
not enough dwellings out there. The government also committed to build, 1.2 million homes by the end of the decade. Even that looks a stretch, doesn't it?
I agree.
Simply because there aren't the resources to do it, namely, most primarily, I guess, Labor.
This is absolutely correct. There's also quite a substantial delay when it comes to development approvals. So not only do we have a shortage of labour and actually folks that can assist with the practical build, but we've got quite a protracted backlog of approvals. So these builds, not only do we need the labour, but they're slow to get off the ground. So I think it's quite idealistic of the Labor government to put forward these incentives without really tackling the operational side of things.
Labor's already come up with that 5% deposit scheme for first home buyers. So what do you think the likely effect of that would be?
Good question. I think it's likely to bring additional first home buyers into the market. Now that's a good thing. We're paving the way for more first home buyers to become first home owners. But I do tend to agree that it's likely to put a pressure on prices, and we're already quite stretched. So I think we're going to see housing prices surge even more, particularly so from the start of this forthcoming financial year and into the spring housing market. So I don't see this as being anything really by way of good standing for property prices.
Are there any immediate fixes that are transparent? I won't say easy fixes because we know it's not, but more immediately, what can be done, do you think?
I think it really relies on construction approval, the process, the pathway to build, and that is very much about fast-tracking applications and approval for construction builds. The problem with that fast-tracking is obviously we don't want dodgy builders, we don't want poor quality housing. So whilst fast tracking the process, the policy and application process, I'm not too sure whether even that's going to be the right answer in this case.
Well, we've already seen, in Sydney, for instance, they've come up with the TOD scheme, the transport orientated development, where they're trying to put infill and increase development around train stations, but local councils have been pushing it back against some of those policies. So that looks protracted, doesn't it? It's still a long time to get these developers, and they're not going to commit if they don't have certainty.
Yes, and I agree.
All right, so should there be, or is there a national approach, as you can see, to tackle this?
I wish there was. I definitely feel that a standardised national program would help facilitate not just the fast tracking, but better regulatory process when it comes to builds. And I think that has been the crux of the problem, especially notably in Sydney. We don't have a national standardized program, so everything relies on local councils, and each council has their own means of approval, and it ends up being not just protracted, but quite confusing as well. So I think that is actually part of the problem. And as you rightly mentioned, a standardized national process, I think, is one of the first steps to really move things forward genuinely.
So you talk about the concerns, obviously, that's going to put on prices, particularly for new home buyers. What about the rental market? What's likely to happen to that, do you think?
I don't see the rental market shifting anytime soon. When you have such pressure on the housing market in and of itself, you're not fixing per se anything really to do with the rental market. You're not creating further vacancies. You're not creating a system that's looking to reduce weekly rental or giving renters any respite. So I don't foresee much change by way of rental prices as well as rental stability for tenants.
We have seen state governments commit to build to rent projects as well as affordable housing. Is that likely to work, do you think? Actually mandating that you've got to have that sort of housing?
No, I see build to rent. I see it as a means of very much assisting investor property owners, but I don't necessarily see that as really assisting renters being able to, at some point in their lives, transition on to being homeowners. I feel it'll create a bit of a chronic rental situation where renters will get stuck in that rental pipeline and not be able to proceed to becoming first homeowners.